House Oversight Committee. Congressman Suhas Subramanyam of Virginia. Sir, thank you so much for being here. I'd like to kind of start with what we've learned today from the committee that you, of course, serve on, and whether we can expect there to be more of the same.
Yeah, taking a step back, I mean, we got these documents from the Epstein estate, right? And they were releasing these in batches. So it just so happens that they released this past week, and we were able to find emails involving President Trump where Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were talking about him. And it seemed to indicate that they had information about President Trump's involvement. They seemed to imply that President Trump had some sort of engagement and involvement with them. And so, certainly that raises questions in a time where President Trump is the one preventing the release of the files that the FBI, DOJ have about the Epstein case. And so it all's starting to come together a little bit. And the more evidence we get, I think the better a picture we'll get about what's all going on with this cover-up.
So one of the things that we learned from these emails, Epstein writes that Trump is, quote, the dog that hasn't barked, end quote. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of comment there. Again, I think Epstein is implying throughout these emails that he has information about Trump, that he has compromising information potentially about Trump, and that he knows Trump very well. And, they've said that they were very good friends, right? And so, again, you're talking about a president that has withheld the files, right? And the files involve a former very good friend of his.
Sir, can I interrupt you for just 1 second? We're watching live the speaker swearing in Adelita Grijalva. I just want to listen for a moment to see if he makes any comments, and we'll continue our conversation. Let's watch.
Very well. I served under him in the Natural Resources Committee for a while and admired the way he did the work. He was tenacious. So she has a proud family legacy, and we're delighted to have her here. She may not agree with me, but we follow the custom of the House on the timetable, and we've had a little, as we say in the Deep South, some intense fellowship about that.
Yes.
Okay, but she's here now, and I promised that we would have her the oath administered before we began legislative business, so she hasn't missed a vote, and we're delighted you're here. So anything I can do to help you, as I do all members, happy to get you acclimated and do everything. But you know more than most because your dad was here for a long time.
I visited.
Yes.
I never did this job, so this is brand spanking new. So
right.
I will take the offer of help.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I gave it during
All right, we have been watching the House Speaker and Adelita Grijalva there at the ceremonial swearing in. Congressman, I'd like to kind of pick up where we left off here. One thing that we heard from the briefing room podium today was Caroline Leavitt. She addressed questions about why, when these emails were released by Democrats on the committee, Virginia Giuffre's name was redacted. And I want to play for you what she said and have you respond. Take a look.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. This administration has done more with respect to transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein than any administration ever.
Sir, what's your response to that?
Certainly those emails don't prove that the president engaged in no wrongdoing, quite the opposite. They also seem to indicate that the president has a lot of knowledge about what Epstein was doing, that Epstein has a lot of knowledge about the president as well. And so it really does, I would like to see more evidence and more information. And the president seems to have that information, and I'd like to see those files released. And that's why we just had the 218th signature. But this story is not going away. If Caroline Leavitt thinks that she can explain away the president's actions, the president breaking his promise to the American people to release the files, they're being naive about this. We're going to continue to push no matter how rich or how powerful the people involved are. And if it includes the president, it includes the president.
Sir, what do you say to Republicans? I mean, some people on our panel today have been arguing this. I've certainly heard from your colleagues in the House that have said, okay, Democrats are very interested in this now. Why were they not interested in this before? There are obviously some Democratic politicians, very high-profile figures, who have been linked in one way or another to Jeffrey Epstein in some way. So what do you say to those critics who question Why weren't you more interested in it before?
We'd actually introduced, I mean, I wasn't here, I'm a freshman, but
Yes,
other Democratic members were introducing legislation as early as 2019 about Jeffrey Epstein, and they were asking for the files back then. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, my great colleague from Florida, was one of them. And so that's not true that we weren't interested in this, we weren't trying to investigate this. But look, the president campaigned on this for a couple of years, actually. And so if he wants to follow through with that campaign promise, if he wants to clear his name, if he wants to do right by the victims, he will release the files. And now Congress has 218 signatures. He can stop whipping votes against those signatures and just let us have that vote and release the files.
And can I just ask, we've been reporting here this afternoon that the president met in the Situation Room with Congressman Lauren Boebert, one of the signatories of the Discharge petition, as well as with top Justice Department officials. What does it tell you that they would hold such a meeting in the Situation Room?
That tells me they have something to hide. That tells me that there's more of a cover-up. The reason why people are so interested in this whole Epstein saga is because you had rich and powerful people covering up for each other, influencing the highest levels of government and law enforcement, and it's continuing. The victims said it, that they've been disappointed so many times, and that they almost don't trust us, but they're willing to help us because they're hoping that this oversight committee investigation will be different. Well, Donald Trump does not want this oversight investigation, but we're going to continue regardless.
One thing that we've heard consistently from the victims, who I know have appeared at press conferences with members on the Hill, we may see more of them, they have said it shouldn't be up to them to generate a list of people who were involved with them, who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein, that list of would-be perpetrators. But there does seem to be some increasing conversation around the possibility of them doing that. What is your understanding of where that community of victims stands on this at this point?
I'll say the community of victims has been so brave and so courageous, and they've been willing to put their necks out there and put their life on the line in some cases and go through hell and back. And so they've been very helpful to us in this investigation. One of the things they said was for us to follow the money and try to find out, all the transactions, financial transactions that happened, that would tell a story about the criminal enterprise that Jeffrey Epstein ran. And in the end, the victims deserve better than what we've given them. But, it's hard to say, a victim coming out there just listing a bunch of names. They haven't been believed in the past. People have undermined them in the past, discredited them in the past. So we want to work backwards, get their intel, and then go out and try to find the documentation and the proof. But the president has some of that documentation, and we want to see it.
All right. Congressman Subramanyam, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up next here in the arena.